When you list a Lamborghini for sale for just $35,000, it runs and drives. As it turns out, a lot of people want to buy it, and I cannot thank everyone enough who submitted a video with their ideas for the VINwiki cheap Lambo. We got some amazing submissions and a very wide range of ideas, from travel and adventures to various modifications, entrepreneurial ideas, charitable efforts, and everything in between. So thank you so much. We had over 175 videos submitted, and you can find them all in a playlist. But we had to pick some finalists, and that is what I'm here to announce today. I have to thank Sway for their continued support of VINwiki and this project. Sway is an innovation outfitter that tells us to chase our dreams no matter what the cost, and fulfilling someone's dream of Lamborghini ownership is really what this was all about. They stepped in to give us some support and to help sift through all of the entries, and I can't thank them enough. Be sure to check out their website, sign up for their mailing list to hear of all the incredible things well beyond VINwiki that Sway is up to, and be sure to follow along. We love their clothing and apparel, but they're also constantly doing different projects, working with different materials, solving problems in engineering, and it's always a lot of fun to watch. So again, thank you all so much to those who made videos and submitted ideas. Here are some of the ones that we got.
So VINwiki is selling a Lamborghini for $35,000.
A Lamborghini isn't the typical car you expect for winter, but it will certainly be the most fun.
So who am I, and why should I have a shot at getting the VINwiki cheap Lambo?
It's the ultimate dream come true for me.
Stop bullying.
But my dad has really wanted a Lamborghini for like his entire life.
So my crazy idea is to drive the Pan-American Highway.
I had these renderings run up so you can get a basic idea.
We're also going to stick swap the car.
We're going to bring some joy to the kids.
One lap of America.
My dream is to become the youngest SCCA racer in the Super Street Prepared Solo class.
I'm thinking that cheap Lambo's gonna look good right next to the other one here.
One of my kiddos wants to be a YouTuber just like you, and he loves cars.
My dream is to use it for trash picking.
Drive it to 37 states.
And actually launch it off of a cliff.
We want to beat Ed at his own game.
Put hand controls in it.
I would drive it to school.
We want your Lamborghini because we want to drive from Wagga, dunk, all the way to Wagga, dunk.
And what's your favorite car, buddy?
A Lamborghini.
Now, as you would imagine, there were a lot of submissions from people you'd already recognize from the VINwiki channel, and we didn't want to give them any kind of a home field advantage, so we thought that the best solution would be a play-in game, where we would pick 5 of the recognizable VINwiki personalities, and then you'd vote against them in the first round, and whoever wins amongst those would move to the final round. So starting today at 10 a.m. Eastern on Friday, you'll have 48 hours to vote amongst 5 recognizable VINwiki personalities, and they are David Simpson from the Zombie Road series. You've seen David tell his solo cannonball stories. He's talked about being a repo man. He's been on a lot of amazing adventures and lived quite the life, but now he writes zombie books, and he has built a Mach 1 Mustang into this zombie apocalypse car. And to be quite honest, the first time I saw that car, I thought, there needs to be an exotic car version of that, and he has volunteered to do that with this. He also says that it would become part of his coloring books that he sells to children with zombie coloring opportunities, as well as featured on the cover of one of his upcoming books. And so here's a little bit about David and his ideas.
I've got some pretty interesting ideas of what we can do with it to tie it into the books, get it on TV, do a little bit of charity work with it, and go from there. These are some images my artist drew for me. Widodo kind of went wild. I don't believe we can actually do the hover car or probably any of the others and still make the car functional. But you get the drift. That's the direction we're going to go with it.
Then came Doug Tabit with a bit of a cannonball wager. He was happy to pay the asking price, meet right smack dab in the middle at $35,000, but he said that he was then going to cannonball the car with his wife co-driving. And his proposal was that for every hour under 35 hours that he was able to achieve from New York to Los Angeles, I would pay $1,000 to a charity. And for every hour above that, he would pay. Now, that called into question a bit of how running and driving is this car? And the answer is somewhat, but not 3,000 miles. And so I was very excited, along with you guys, to delight in the misery of Doug Tabit and his unsuspecting wife going in the winter immediately, as is in this car. And so I kind of put him to it as I was narrowing down the field. I said, Doug, are you going to go like next week? And is she going to be okay in a car that does not have functional heat or a roof that goes up? And he said no. So he actually is going to fix a few things, at least try to make the heat work, and then go to celebrate his anniversary, which is in April. And so that's his proposal, and here's a little bit more from Doug.
Everybody knows exotic cars, especially Lamborghinis, are terrible cars in which to do a cannonball because they get abysmal gas mileage and they're very ostentatious and out there for the police and everybody else to notice. They're unreliable, generally uncomfortable. And to make it even more difficult, my wife, who has no support of cannonball whatsoever and is a consummate rule follower, I will do it with her. So I will cannonball this Lamborghini with my wife, and I will pay Ed $1,000 per hour that it takes to get there.
Next up is a relatively new personality to VINwiki, Detrick King. His story was here a couple of weeks ago because I ran into him at our Cars and Coffee meetup, Caffeine and Octane, and he had previously painted the car. And in the comment section, many of you recommended that we should offer to sell the car to him. So if that's where you think it should go, that is the opportunity, and here's Detrick telling us a little bit more.
I would paint it back black and make sure I had on some suede gear when I drove it, you know.
Now, we got a lot of ideas about how to put a lot of people into the driver's seat, and insurance notwithstanding, they're all very, very interesting, but one was from a veteran VINwiki storyteller, DJ Hearst. His channel, ATL Car Guys, is kind of a young, up-and-coming YouTube channel, and there's a lot of you out there that wanted to launch YouTube channels surrounding the car. And so his proposal was to essentially allow anybody with a non-monetized, so under 4,000 subscriber YouTube channel to come here to Atlanta and make some content with the car. And here's DJ explaining a bit more about that.
You can come here and with me, you can make content with this car. It means you can drive it around, we can have fun in it, we can rip in it, we can film right here, you can film whatever kind of content you make, even if it's not automotive content. I don't mind. As long as it's about chasing your dream and you want to build your YouTube channel, same thing I'm doing.
The final candidate, and we'll say the Friends of VINwiki, is someone who hasn't been here to tell the story, but he's been mentioned several times, and he'll be here at some point in the future, and his name is Edin Golic. Now, you'll recognize the story that pertains to Edin because he is the person, as a drunk 15-year-old, that crashed my gray LP640. I didn't know that at the time, but after I made a video here about it, he contacted me and told me about how he was working for the father of a girl he'd gotten pregnant who happened to be a refugee terrorist from Iran living in Canada, using cars through auctions to smuggle drugs into the United States. And I can't wait for him to tell that in his words, but that is what happened. And he said that he would use it in various ways to motivate young people.
I want to use that and go from being a dealer that I used to be to being the healer that I am now. Because what I do now is give mentorship to kids.
So whoever wins amongst those 5 VINwiki personality options will move on to the final round of voting, and that will be from 10 a.m. Eastern on Monday until 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Again, another 48-hour window. And they will go up against the 4 people that you won't recognize from having been right here. And the first of those is Andy House. Now again, you'll have heard the story of Andy House because in 2009, he was the man who drove his Bugatti into the Galveston Bay. We've got various stories from me, from Freddie, from others about my attempts to buy the car. Unfortunately, we haven't. Houston Crosta has rebuilt that car, but he has volunteered to drive this Lamborghini into the Galveston Bay or some body of water. I'm sure there are various approval things, and I will have him sign the craziest waiver you've ever seen because I can't possibly endorse something so dangerous, but I would certainly love to see it, and it would be an interesting bit of content. Now, here is Andy talking about what he would do with the car.
So my idea with this car, if I win this contest, we'll send it into the nearest body of water. We'll live stream it for everybody to see. When we get done with it, we'll bring it back to my facility, tear it apart, do a YouTube build on it, and then when we get done, we'll turn around and list it for sale. Also, as well, if I win this contest, I'll go into VINwiki. We'll discuss the Bugatti scandal, the arrest, the prison time, the stuff that you do know and the stuff that you definitely don't know.
Now, Andy wanted to eventually repair the car and flip it for a profit, but for somebody who's already had a Bugatti, we don't need him out here flipping and making money off Lamborghinis that I'm selling cheap. So what I told him was that in order to be considered, he had to sort of pay it forward and offer the ability for future content and a lot of people to see this car. So we got a lot of application videos from people who have big YouTube channels. And honestly, if we put one of them up against the other options and they just funnel their audience here, they're just going to overwhelm the vote and easily win. So we couldn't have that. So Andy gets to pick which of the big YouTubers or a museum that volunteered a video will get it. So we've got the Miles Through Time Museum, which is where my Cannonball cars live, Legit Street Cars, Rich Rebuilds, Watch JR Go, Elliot Alvis, Sam from Hard Up Garage. They all submitted videos with their ideas, a couple of EV swaps and things like that. So here are the options that they proposed. And if he wins, it'll be up to Andy House to decide where the car ends up next.
I will restore the Lamborghini mechanically myself at Legit Street Quarters, and then me and my team here in Chicago will fix everything else, the paint and bodywork, wheels, maybe some custom exhaust, who knows. And one day when I'm done and I eventually sell the car, I'll donate a portion of the proceeds from the sale to a charity.
Then I would take care of all the fluids, the services, bring everything up to snuff, and then I would enjoy the car for quite a long time, and then I would probably flip it for a profit at some time down the road, because at that price there could be quite a bit of money made on a car like that.
A total Tesla body, but a powertrain is intact, and I'm asking for your support to take this tired Lamborghini and give it a new life, an electric life, to be reliable, faster, and dead silent. Even when it drives by the police at speeds that's, you know, too fast for its post on the road. So I think the cheapest Lambo with one of the most expensive powertrains will be a really cool saga.
After I restore this car, I plan on taking a deep dive into its history. I'm going to be driving it back to the East Coast, back to where it came from, and talking to anyone I can who played a part in this car's story. Think of it like a true crime documentary, but with the car as a subject. I'm going to be talking to the rental company, previous renters, maybe even the people who stole it, making a comprehensive list of everything that made this car what it is.
My intention would be to have the car become a part of the permanent collection here at Miles Through Time.
And the first thing we're going to do with it is a cannonball run. We need to take it, actually we might just take it straight from Atlanta up to Red Ball Garage and make the run to Portofino.
Yes, I have blended into Lamborghini shows and Ferrari shows with my array of kit cars. I'll even get my lovely female Nicola on the bonnet in a bikini. And if she won't do it, I will wear a bloody bikini on the bonnet.
Now, one thing any exotic car owner loves to do and should absolutely be doing is giving kids rides in cars. There's so many charitable drives and opportunities to go out to hospitals or children's homes or anything like that. And we got a lot of videos where people talked about that would be part of their ownership experience. But my favorite one was from a woman named Hannah, and she works with sick children in a hospital, and she was going to call it the Lambulance, which is an amazing name and the perfect thing to call something that's going to bring smiles to the faces of many, many children. So here is Hannah talking about her idea for the car.
Hey Ed, VINwiki and Sway. My name is Hannah and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to win the chance to purchase your Lamborghini. I'm currently a therapist who works in a pediatric facility for children with disabilities. One of my kiddos wants to be a YouTuber just like you, and he loves cars. I've had a dream of finding a cool car project to learn more about cars and plan activities for the amazing children that I work with. And this is where I think the Lambulance would be the perfect fit. I would like to outfit the car to use for youth events in my pediatric facility, church, and local EMS department to help with fundraising events. Lastly, I would love to be able to go on some rallies in the future and make the Lambulance become a reality. I would bring along a nationally registered EMT or paramedic for a true exotic support vehicle with medical library and real medical support.
Now, as I thought about how I had dreamed for so long of finding a cheap Lamborghini ownership opportunity, I know that my personal use would have been something entrepreneurial. So we had a lot of business ideas proposed, but my favorite one came from Maxwell Gallo. He is an actor, kind of an extra in a whole lot of movies, and probably nobody we've seen in something, but he's been in a whole lot of stuff, and he wants to start a picture car company, very similar to what John Ficarra ran in Brooklyn, not too dissimilar to my exotic car rental company, Rob Ferretti's, things like that. And what we certainly know about the exotic car rental company is it's not necessarily a great business, so starting ahead of the curve by having a very cheap Lamborghini is a great idea, and what you absolutely end up with, even if it comes with bankruptcy, is some amazing stories. And so I hope that Maxwell can succeed in this business, and here he is talking about his ideas with the VINwiki Cheap Lambo.
What I plan on doing with the Lambo, and what I just started to do with this business, is called Casting Cars. I just reserved the domain name for Casting Cars, and I'm going to be starting a business called Casting Cars. The business is going to be revolved around incorporating cool cars in movies, TV shows, films, and as well as photos for models, etc. I think that it would be super cool if we found a film or a TV show that has a drug dealer, and we kind of cast this car as a drug dealer's car.
So I love the idea of the car once again becoming related to a drug dealer, even if it is theatrical. So good luck, Max, with the business, and if you think that that's who should own the Lamborghini, vote for him. The final entry is from Bennett Wilson. I actually met Bennett for the first time in person on Musket Ball, but he knows several people that I know through Lemons Racing. He has the hydrocephalus racing team, and they raise money for a charity that supports children who are suffering from hydrocephalus. It's a very rare disease, but it's very, very hard on everybody who's involved with it, and they race a minivan in a $500 racing series in order to bring awareness and raise money. So now they want to race a Lamborghini. Now it does have to be a $500 car, but as Jay Lamb has described it sitting right here in this seat, $500 can be calculated by the purchase price minus anything that you sell out of the car. So as they sell the seats and the interior and the wheels and the things like that that are going to be replaced with, I guess, higher performance or more safety-oriented options, he can recoup some of that investment. So like you guys, I would be very entertained by that premise, and I would certainly join him for some Lemons racing in the future. And so here is Bennett talking more about his experiences in Lemons and what he would do with the Lamborghini.
In 2015, my son Dean was born with a brain condition called hydrocephalus, and nobody knows what the heck that is. And so he had 3 brain surgeries by the time he was 9 months old, and we drove him to the hospital for all his MRIs and all his surgeries and all his doctor's appointment in our, at the time, family 2002 Honda Odyssey minivan. So after the dust had settled and my son was doing better, we were getting involved in the hydrocephalus community. My wife and I wanted to raise awareness and do some fun things for the hydro community. And I thought, what a great way to raise awareness than to take our minivan and enter it into an endurance racing series called the 24 Hours of Lemons, which, as most of you know, is an endurance racing series for $500 cars. So we stripped down this minivan, we turned it into a crazy endurance racing machine, and we became the hydrocephalus racing team. So now we go around, we do races, we take the van to the hydrocephalus walks and let kids sit in the van. We do a bunch of charity efforts with it. It's a really great team, but we're sort of maybe in need of a second car because we got a lot of drivers. The minivan's fast, but it's not super fast. So we kind of thought this is maybe an opportunity, because you don't get a Lamborghini for $35,000. And now I'm sure most of you have seen Jay Lamb, the perpetrator of 24 Hours of Lemons, on VINwiki before. And he's got a saying, you know, where people are like, $500 my ass, because lots of cars aren't worth $500. But in this case, there's a caveat in the 24 Hours of Lemons rules where you can sell anything off the car in order to offset the purchase price of the car. So our plan for this cheap Lamborghini will be to pay Ed, right smack dab in the middle, $35,000 for this car, then sell $34,500 worth of stuff off of this car in order to make it a true Lemons legal $500 Lamborghini.
So those are the 9 finalists in the VINwiki Cheap Lambo idea. Again, thank you to everybody who submitted. I hope you like the options that we have selected. So starting right now, you can vote amongst the 5 friends of VINwiki, and then in a couple of days, we'll open up voting, and you'll see this all in community posts on the VINwiki page. So if you go to the VINwiki channel page and then you click community, you'll find all the posts that we make, and those will include these polls. Hopefully Google and YouTube, in their wisdom of what we're doing on the internet, will put it out there on your homepage, but regardless, please find it. You can only vote once per account. That's how Google works, and it was the easiest way for us to arrange that. But we will announce the winners and probably have some interview footage with them as they come to collect it in the next couple of weeks. But thank you again so much to Sway for supporting this effort. We know they want to help people achieve their dreams around the world and all the time, and if your dream has been to own a cheap Lamborghini, I hope that you took a shot at this one. Be sure to visit Sway at the link in the description below. Sign up for their mailing list to hear more about all the crazy things and the amazing things that they're up to and accomplishing. And thank you so much for watching. Go vote now.